Hey guys, today we're starting a series called Focus on Fallschirmjager, basically because we'll be focusing on Fallschirmjager. So we have in front of us here 7 boxes of Fallschirmjager from various brands in 1/7/2 scale. I will be painting up 3 battalions for Rapidfire, which equates to approximately 150 figures, give or take, in these various brands. So what I'm doing is, instead of my usual format of review where I look at the packaging, look at the sprue, and then show painted figures in the second portion of the video, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just do kind of a standard review, box and packaging, contents, and leave it at that. And at the end of the series I will do a video of the 3 battalions painted up, because I will be selecting for example, a half dozen from one box and 3 or 4 from another and 20 from another, and so on and so forth. So it depends on what my kind of requirements are as regards building those battalions, but I intend to kind of get at least 1 or 2 of each pose painted up for those battalions. So at least that way we will see what is contained within the boxes on the sprue, but also from a painted perspective as well. So that's kind of the easiest way of doing it for me, really, because, as I say, there's a lot of figures to be painted, and there's basically several hundred there in front of you. There's what, 150, 200, 250. There's somewhere in the region of 250 to 300 figures there, 250 anyway at least. So from that perspective, I'm going to be a little bit selective as regards the guys I want for the battalions in question. So 2 of those battalions will be painted up in a sort of a post-Normandy, or post-D-Day Normandy kind of end of the war kind of scenario from a European perspective, and 1 battalion will be sort of from a Mediterranean perspective, because I have a few ideas as regards games that will be happening in the summer. So it's now 1st of February 2019, so that's kind of 5 to 6 months away, but it's going to take me a while to get all these guys painted up, selected, and so on and so forth, plus other projects I have on board, and that's not to mention real life as well. So that's where we're at. So basically the brands we'll be dealing with will be primarily Caesar. We have 3 boxes of Caesar. We have some Zvezda, we have some Orion, some Pegasus, and some Italieri. And there may be some additions to this as well. There may be some white metal cast pieces coming into this, and whatever else I deem necessary as I go along. Although, to be honest, there's probably enough in that maybe I might need to convert a couple of armour fast German machine gunners to Fallschirmjager, or I might get some white metal pieces. I don't know. I'll have to see what's in the stash in the attic, so I might need anything, or I might have to go converting or looking further afield, depending. We'll find out what happens there when we get to that point. So basically, as you can see there, we'll be looking, we're doing reviews on the Caesar German Paratroopers, the Caesar German Paratroopers from the Assembly series, which I'm quite curious about. This could be a nightmare, or it could be great, I don't know. There's a million pieces inside in this box, so we'll have to see how that works out. I'm kind of interested to see what happens with those guys. There's also the Caesar, this is actually quite new to me. Well, these are newly released. They're about 12 months old at this point. I picked this up a little while ago, treated myself to it before Christmas. So that's the World War II Fallschirmjager heavy weapons set, with there's 2 weapons inside there as well, sort of a recoilless rifle and a little artillery piece. So that's pretty cool. So we'll have a look at those. We have the Zvezda set, which is interesting. Zvezda have a game called Art of Tactic, which I know nothing about. But it uses these little kind of standing pieces, which aren't much use to me, but the figures are quite nice looking, and they're very cheap. Now you only get 4 to 5 figures depending on the set. They only do 1 set of Fallschirmjager, unfortunately, but they have some very interesting German, Russian, and British infantry sets going on there. So depending on how this goes, I might invest in a few more of those in the future. We'll see. There's also the Orion guys, who the artwork's a bit curious. Kind of looks like those old comics from years ago. I like this guy with the glasses. He kind of looks like a He looks a bit like Himmler actually, but anyway, so from that perspective, these guys are interesting, and see how those guys match up with the rest of the brands there. Pegasus, yeah, looks pretty good. We'll see how they paint up. I like the pose of that officer there as well, and you get a kind of a fair indication at the back of the box as to what's contained within, which is always nice. And then you have the Italieri ones, which are kind of done in a tropical sort of, actually they're called tropical, or the tropical uniform, yes indeed they are. So there's it's a nice set as well. They come with mortars. There's actually 2 or 3 mortars inside this, which is pretty cool, which might save me converting some stuff. Nice colour scheme there for the figures as well, which is pretty cool. So that's the Italieri, the Pegasus, the Orion, 3 Caesar, and the little Zvezda guys as well. So we will see how we get on with those. Not sure which one I'll crack into first, but I'll probably just review the various sets as seen there, and as I say, select who's going to be painted, and we'll rock and roll from there. Now the Caesar heavy weapon set, I might do that up and paint those guys up, just because I'll be doing the weapons themselves at a time. So I don't know, we'll see how it goes. But that's it, guys. So that's focus on Fallschirmjager, which is my little that's the theme I'm using for the next series of videos, which will be, as you can see there, it'll literally be 7 videos. Well, 8 I suppose, once we do the kind of the summary up at the end of the series with the painted figures. So I hope that you are looking forward to it, because I am. A little bit of work involved in it for me, but I'll stop rambling now and crack on with the first review. So you know, like and subscribe and check out that video. Talk to you shortly.